Hello, you're welcome to our Introduction to Business class, Part 2. The course code is BUZZ 102. The course unit, or the credit unit, is 3, and it is a compulsory course for business administration students. I am your facilitator. My name is Ojobi Mark Onum. By way of description and objective of this course, as we all know, during our first semester we had Introduction to Business 1, that's BUZZ 101. BUZZ 102 is an extension of BUZZ 101, and it is intended to expose you to the nature, functions, and activities of business. It is designed to familiarize you with key functional areas of business, including production, marketing, finance, human resource management, customer service, and government and the business. The course is outlined or is divided into 8 sessions, including the production function, which will be the one we will take immediately, the marketing function, the finance function, the human resource management function, customer service function, government and business, and then the problems of Nigerian businesses as well as international business. The grading system, as we all know, the continuous assessment will take 30 marks, while the score for examination is 70 marks. Overall, total obtainable score will be 100 marks. The additional learning material is titled Basics of Business by Bature Nana Usman and Ojobi Mark, my humble self. This book was written in the year 2019. By way of recap, during the first part of this class, in the first semester, we took 6 or 7 outlines, including the meaning and nature of business, forms of business ownership, business environment, business ethics, profit and profitability, corporate social responsibility, as well as privatization and commercialization. Now, we'll start the first session for the semester, the production function. By way of introduction, production is one of the major features as well as function of a business, as identified by Henry Fayol, an engineer. It is one of the major distinguishing factors. It is what differentiates a business from what trade or commerce is. As we all know, most of us mistaking trade or commerce to be business, but trade and commerce is just an aspect of business. So production function is one major factor that differentiates business from trade. The session is designed to expose you to the meaning, types, scope, as well as the characteristics of production. The learning outcomes. There are 4 major outcomes we intend to attain at the end of this session. Firstly, you should be able to tell the meaning of production and then itemize as well as explain the critical production issues, as well as identify the different types of business production, and then identify and explain the scope or areas of production function. Let us start by way of definition. What is production? Bates and Parkinson define production as the organized activity of transforming resources into finished products in the form of goods and services in order to satisfy the demand for such transformed resources. Bature and Ojobi also define production as a process and method of transforming tangible inputs. When we talk about tangible, we talk about raw materials, semi-finished products, sub-assemblies, and all whatnot, as well as intangible inputs. Intangible inputs includes our knowledge, our ideas, information. And so, in essence, what we're trying to say is that production is the process and method of transforming tangible and intangible inputs into finished goods or services to satisfy goods and wants. The key word there is satisfy. That is, the transformation or conversion is done with the intention to create satisfaction. What are the common issues around production? Now, as a business person, there are 4 issues you need to critically look at. And it's a common thing we're taught in our basic economic classes in secondary school. And these issues include what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, as well as for whom to produce. Now let's take and discuss them one after the other. What to produce? As we all know, there is no organization, there is no entity, there is no human that has resources in abundance. The resources we have, including the man, the machine, the material, and the finance, are limited. Thus, as a business person, you need to be strategic in deciding on the quantity and quality of output you intend to give to your customer so as to create satisfaction. Ordinarily, such thoughts or such decisions are often reached through survey or research. The other issue you look at as a business person is how to produce. What is the method? What is the technique you need to apply? What are the tools? What are the equipment? What is the system to be used in production? Now, you know, as the society changes, most of these methods as well change. So you need to be strategic in taking decisions so that you remain competitive as a business person. Another basic issue to look at in taking production decision is where to produce. What is the location? You need to take strategic decision concerning the location of your production plant or your production area. There are two things you need to look at, or two areas that determine your decision. Is it close to the market, close to the potential customer, or close to the source of raw material? These are key questions you need to answer before you decide on where to site your production plant. And then the last one is for whom to produce. Who are the intended customers or consumers? What is the target market? Or who are the proposed beneficiaries? As a business person, you need to take strategic decisions on such areas. Now, what are the types of production available to a business person or a business? We have two major ways to determine types of production. Firstly, it could be divided based on forms and techniques, or it could also be classified based on production stages. Let us take production based on forms and technique. There are three major techniques or forms of production. It could be based on integration, based on disintegration, or modification. What do we mean by production based on integration? It simply means production based on assembling or joining different parts of a whole. It is common in manufacturing industry. For instance, we have some vehicle production industries like Anamco, and then we have this popular one, Innocent, in Nigeria. And so such businesses are into integration. The carpenters we have, or the furniture makers, the restaurants, the eateries, the fashion designers, these kind of persons are classified under production based on integration. The other side, or the opposite of it, production based on disintegration. What this simply means is separating parts of a whole to form a product to create satisfaction. This is common in the extractive industry as well as in agriculture. And so you find such things in oil and gas, mining, animal and crop farming. The last type of production based on forms or techniques is production based on modification. What is production based on modification? What it simply means is you're improving on the existing state of a product so that it can create satisfaction for the final user. This is common in the service industry or the service sector, majorly in education, transformation, communication, banking, insurance, legal, accounting, name them. Now, I'd like to show us some pictures of these types of production. The first one, production based on integration. What you can see on the slide is an assembly or a car assembly factory. Now, what they do here is to put different parts of the car to form the car we drive. The other picture you see is production based on disintegration. Now, this is a farm. What's taking place is harvesting. And so they are separating the wheat from the chaff to create final product for consumption and satisfaction. Another type of production is this based on modification. The image you're seeing is a class session ongoing at the University of Abuja. This is modification. We're trying to improve on our students so that they become better persons when they graduate. Now we'll look at the types of production based on stages and sectors. Normally, when you say production based on stages, there are three different: the primary production, secondary production, as well as tertiary or service production. Primary production mostly are based on the ones where you extract or you're extracting human or natural deposits or resources. Why I have to include human or natural deposit is that for human, you plant crops. And so when you plant these things, you need to extract them from the soil. So that's primary production. And so we have so many natural deposits on the surface of the earth that we also extract. So this is primary production. Secondary production means transforming outputs of the primary production into other outputs for satisfaction. That is, whatever you derive from the primary production process is further processed, is further transformed, is further transformed into other products for satisfaction. For instance, when we harvest our corn, our cassava, we can now transform into flour. This flour can be made to become fufu that we consume, or they are made or baked into cake or bread. This is secondary production. And then we also talk about tertiary production. Tertiary production are the kind of productions that mostly take place in the service industry or the service sector, such as educational services, consultancy, transportation, communication, banking, and what have you. Now, the scope or areas of the production function. For every business, in the course of this discussion, we looked at the key or the common production issues, including where to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. Now we're going to look at the specific issues that make up the production function. Murugesan in 2011 identified salient and specific as well as strategic business production decision areas. These areas make up the production function, and they include such things as facility or plant location and layout. That is, where do you locate your production plant? While we're discussing under the major issues, we said it could be near the market or it could be near the source of raw material. Apart from the location or the siting, we also need to critically, or a business person also need to critically look at the layout, the arrangement. How do you organize the production plant? What comes first? It should be in a sequence such that it will be seamless, there will be less movement, there will be less interruption. Another key critical area of the production function include the production planning and control. For production to take place, the business person, the business must diligently and carefully decide in advance what to do. By deciding in advance what to do, the business is simply planning. And in the course of planning, it is essential for the business to also put in place a monitoring and evaluation system, simply known as what? Control. And so, while you're planning, you need to also determine how to monitor and evaluate the process or the progress made, so that the key actions or related actions, such as sustaining what is in a plan or making adjustments to the plan, so that if there are deviations, you need to make adjustment to the plan so that there will be less waste. Another main issue to look at in production function is material handling. Material is one of the key resources of an organization, and one of the major functions of a manager is to reduce waste, is to improve efficiency, is to improve productivity. So every business must ensure it handles its material in such a way that waste will be minimized, in such a way that there will be little or no waste. It is a critical production function area. Another key area of production function is the product design as well as development. For there to be production, for a product to be made available, for there to be satisfaction, the business person must carefully design and develop the product in such a way that satisfaction will be derived. In designing and developing the product, so many variables are involved, including packaging, size, color, texture, taste, and what have you. And so the intended output must be carefully done in such a way that satisfaction will be derived by the consumer or the customer. Another major area in the production function of a business is process design as well as what? Implementation. Just as our product design and development, the process for producing these products or these outputs must be carefully thought out. They must be carefully designed. A business person cannot just go in without thinking of what system of production to use, what type of equipment to use, what type of tool to use, what type of system. It has to be well thought out. It has to be strategic. You cannot choose to adopt the type of system adopted by a competitor. It might not be favorable to you because of certain factors or reasons. And so every business must ensure it designs as well as implement the process of the production process. Another very key area of the production function is maintenance management. This is one very critical area where most business persons fail. We do not have the necessary skill for maintaining the resources of the organization, particularly the equipment. And so it behoves on the business to critically have a maintenance culture so that their system don't break down, so that their activities are not unnecessarily interrupted. And so with a good maintenance culture, with a good maintenance management system, there will be flow, there will be less interruption, there will be seamless activity. And lastly, the issue of quality control. Now, for a business that has designed a product, it must also determine how it controls the quality. There must be a system in place that will help the business monitor and evaluate the quality of its product so that it does not go below or beyond the accepted quality of product. Now, by and large, during this study session, you were exposed to the following, and you should be able to, 1, tell the meaning of production, itemize and explain the critical and common production issues, including what to produce, where to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Furthermore, you should be able to identify the different types of production. We discussed 2 different types. Firstly, we looked at it based on forms of production, which could be through integration, that is assembling different parts, or disintegration, that is separating parts to create satisfaction, or through modification, where you improve on existing state of the product. And then lastly, we also taught you how to identify and explain the different areas of the production process. Thank you. With this,